Good morning, everyone. We're going to start in just a minute or so, but thank you all for being here. All right, I'm seeing the participants still streaming in. Welcome. Okay, we'll give it one more minute, and then we'll go ahead and get things rolling. All right, let's see. Looks like we're about there, so let's go ahead and get started. First things first. Before we start, just a couple of housekeeping items for everyone. If you can't hear us, just make sure you're connected to Zoom audio in the audio settings bar at the bottom of the webinar. Second item is make sure use that Q&A section as much as you need rather than raising your hand. We have a team that's here to make sure we're reviewing your responses and can either respond live or can send you a response back via text. Last couple of items. Recording of this class will be sent to you by tomorrow, and we've got about a half an hour here together. So, without further ado, let's get going. Today's class is Win More Jobs with AI and Track Real Profit, and it's the Beam and CompanyCam workflow. For those of you that attended a class before, this is our first Beam CompanyCam co-webinar, so we're really excited to be here. The agenda is up here. So first off, just what is Beam? We'll talk a little bit about tips and tricks for AI prompting. Talk about what estimating looks like in Beam and comparing some prompt examples. We'll do a quick primer on invoicing and budgeting in Beam, and then we'll look at how you can use CompanyCam and Beam together to supercharge, especially your estimating process. So, first things first, as I mentioned, my name is Cole. I'm with the Beam team. I'm on the product and marketing teams here at Beam. And the first major question is, who are we? So we're the project and financial management hub for contractors. We joined CompanyCam in March, and our goal and role is really to help contractors win more jobs, process payments faster, and increase profitability. So what that looks like in terms of what GCs and contractors do with Beam, it's AI estimating, it's invoicing, it's automated compliance, budgeting, bill payments, and expense card expense management. So that is Beam. And now let's jump into some tips and tricks. Before I do, a quick poll for you all. I am curious. I'd like you to rate your current AI comfort level on a scale of 1 to 10. So, how often you use AI, how comfortable you are with it, how strong you feel with it. 1 being not very comfortable, 10 being really comfortable. Just really helpful to get a sense of where everyone's at. Okay, I'm starting to see things come in. So much fun watching all the participants voting. Okay, sweet. Okay, so we've got a smattering I'm seeing really across the board, all the way from 2 to 10. Looks like the average is somewhere in the middle. I'll go ahead and leave it up for just another couple of seconds. Thanks so much for everyone who provided their feedback. Just really helpful to know where you're coming from. Okay, awesome. Thanks so much for that. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and end the poll. Sweet. So here at Beam, we like to think about AI as like a brilliant junior estimator. And what we mean by that is the quality of the output that you get from AI is going to be directly related to the quality of your input. So important to start with the right mindset that you want to make sure you're feeding in the best information possible to AI to be able to get the best output from the AI that you can. So we have 6 tips for prompting. These first 3 tips, if you like to use generalized models, so ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, these are especially pertinent for those models. The first 3 tips are going to be define your role, define the task, and define the rules. These are something that, if you're working with CompanyCam or Beam, that's a specialized AI model where we are defining the role and the task in some of the rules. So it might be less pertinent if you're, say, estimating in Beam or CompanyCam, but still something to always keep in mind. So defining the role, you can see just some example prompts here. You're an expert construction estimator, skilled at reading detailed plans and specifications. Your task, analyze construction documents, write a thorough professional bid. Rules, really important one here. Example rule here is if any information provided is unclear, you must not make assumptions. Be a really great thing to help the AI from hallucinating, right? So, once again, these three rules are going to be great if you're using Claude, Gemini, ChatGPT, making sure that you are starting with the basics so that you can build off of it with the next three tips. So next three are going to be exclusions, assumptions, and format. Exclusions, make sure that you know with whatever you're uploading exactly where your scope starts and stops. Using very strong words like do not is a great example here of what you don't want the AI to spend time on. So say I'm a GC, I don't want to include landscaping, security systems, or permitting fees might be an example. Assumptions, this is totally dependent on the document that you're uploading with your estimate, right? So, how complete is that document? How many detailed specifications, dimensions, material information is there within it? If you know there are gaps in what you're giving to the AI, make it clear what your assumptions are, right? So, foundation, let's assume it's a typical 4-inch slab on grade, or let's assume Type X fire rated drywall on exterior walls. The last one here, formatting, really important, especially when you're getting up and running with AI, is understanding what makes your bids look the way they do and how you can have the AI match that. So, a super common formatting prompt that we have here from a lot of Beam users is break out your groups by CSI codes or divisions, or maybe break out labor and material, maybe include the assumed cost per square foot of finished materials. So, that's just an example of some of the tips. I already feel like I've been talking at you for too long. So let's go ahead and jump into Beam and let me show you some more concrete examples. First things first, just a couple of things to note. Everyone always asks, where does pricing come from? So, how AI models determine pricing is they extract information, they quantify a scope, they quantify a unit for that scope, and then they take the location, usually by um, your zip code, and they estimate an average or a median pricing based on that zip code and the scope and the unit. Um, Great flag and example here is most AIs are not going to be trying to do detailed piece counts and material takeoffs. It's a more generalized pricing based on the scope that it quantifies. Um, Second question I get all the time is how does the AI read the document? AI, most commonly, it's extracting text from that document and then it's reading that text. So if there's things that are, symbols or vector lines, the AI may or may not be reading that accurately. So, anyways, let's jump in. I've made three projects right here just to show you some of the examples. Um, all of these projects have the same plan set uploaded, and rather the only difference is in the base prompt. So I'm going to start with our simple notes, and I'll go ahead and jump into the estimate here. So I've already drafted this estimate because it takes, 2 to 4 minutes for estimate drafting to happen, and we just wanted to be able to show you right off the bat. So you can see my base prompt was very simple. Just draft a comprehensive estimate based on the documents attached. And you can see I've uploaded a stamped plan set. So before I dive in, I got one more question for you. I know I've worked with a lot of different GCs, and there's a lot of different types of bidding processes out there, right? Whether you have a rough scope of work, a bill of materials, a stamp plan set, etc. So, second question for you before we just go into these estimates in a little bit more depth is going to be when bidding a project, what documentation do you typically work from? Go ahead and type in whatever it may be. Um, You can see, obviously, with this example, I'm using a stamp plan set, but I know that's not always commonplace. So let me know. What are you going off of when bidding? Let's see. Okay, some answers are coming in. Once again, the question is, when bidding a project, what documentation do you typically work from? Plan sets, bill of materials, scope notes, photos, takeoff files, emails, drawings, etc. Okay, sweet. We got some more answers coming in. And really, this helps me understand just what items we really want to pay close attention to, depending on the amount of detail and the information that we can provide the AI. Okay, sweet. We've got over half of you have answered. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll here and let's take a quick look. Okay, sweet. Thanks so much for that, y'all. So now let's jump back into the estimate here. First things first, typical flow with Beam is when you upload a plan set, we'll generate a summary. And these summaries are going to include sheet references so that you can go ahead and double check the plan set if anything seems off to you. And then here you have your uploaded document. So just kind of a reminder here, AI is never going to replace your need to read the plan set and understand it closely. So a great thing to do is QC that plan set or that document before you're uploading it to the AI. So we're going to go ahead and scroll through a couple pages here. This is a real project that I built at my home 2 years ago. This is the permitted plan set, as you can see down here. So we're going to take a quick scroll through and I'll point out some items that'll become important later. So we'll see here, first things first, we see sprinklers listed as a deferred submittal, but it's not written in a way that might be as clear to the AI as could be. For instance, it doesn't say fire sprinklers required to be a deferred submittal managed by the GC, for instance. Let's keep on scrolling through, see what this plan set looks like. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the site plan. Also, really common on plan sets, even stamp plans, you might not have the dimensions of the utility routing paths. So you can see here we've got the width, but we don't have any length dimensions for how we're gonna go ahead and have the utility connections meet up with existing. We'll come over to the plumbing notes here, and you can see we also need to determine if we can get enough fall and if a sump pump is needed. That's one of those other things, right? GC to determine in field. So anytime you see these things, GC to verify in field, to be determined by GC, those are great flags that you may want to double check with how the AI is going to look at those things. So we'll take a little bit more of a scroll through and then we'll look at the estimate. So you can see here, we've got some venting calcs, and if we go further forward, we've got our typical details with dimensions called out, and we've got a pretty decent schedule of materials here, finished materials. But if you look close, there's no product specifications here. It's all just listing the dimensions, the location, and the type of window. So another thing, right, to think about and check on, how is the AI determining what the actual SKUs for this information might be? So it's kind of an example running through the plan set and QCing. Now let's go ahead and go to the estimate. So those couple items that I pointed out, let's go ahead and look at them. So for utilities, looks like the AI assumed 145 linear feet. And you can see its assumption was that's about $26 per linear foot for the excavation, backfill, and compaction of the utility trench. Um, let's go ahead and see. I don't see anything for fire sprinklers here, right? And if we keep on running down, let's go ahead and see what else we see. So we see exclusions here. It picked up the permit fees. And then it's picking up a pergola shade structure by others. Now, this is something that I know on the job walk that the client does want a price for this, but in the plans it's listed as by others. So another example of the AI might not know how to quantify that well, it lists it as an exclusion. Um, so we can look at the estimate total here, around $352,000. but especially when you're QCing a AI generated estimate in your first couple ones, you really want to pay close attention to the scope, how it's laid out, how the units are identified, how the quantities are produced. Those are the things to check ultimately, right? If you have your structure and you have your scope in a place that you like it, then adjusting pricing is pretty simple, whether you upgrade the unit costs, whether you change the markup, or whether you change the quantity. So that's a simple note example. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to look at another project. And this is the exact same base plan set, but in this prompt, I included a couple of additional details from Sitewalk notes, right? So I included determine that the sump pump, there's not going to be enough drop, so we're going to need to add one. Also confirming that we are going to manage the install of the new fire sprinkler system. Another thing, noting that the utility runs are actually longer than as specified in the plan set. We saw that there was some finished concrete that we want to avoid. We're going to have to route around it. Last thing is providing more information on the deck, right? That was listed as by others, not a lot of information there. So we're starting to fill in the gaps of the estimate. And if we go to the right here, we can see now, let's go ahead and look at utilities. It's got our utility runs all correct here. You can also see the sump pump listed right here. And then we can come down. Let's go ahead and look at some finished carpentry. We have a new deck and pergola section all laid out. So this can be just a really concrete example of, yes, the estimate total is about $75,000 higher, but mostly what I'm looking at is the scope looks a lot better. It's capturing the right things. I filled in some of the gaps where the plan set did not have enough information, and I needed to make sure the AI knew how to handle those situations. From here, there's a couple other things you can do. So you can add a payment schedule, and this will be populated based on how you typically like to do a payment schedule. Um, Also, you can add in additional files, cover page, and an e-signature. The last thing that you tend to do is go over to the preview tab and check out your estimate. So this is exactly the PDF that's going to be sent to the client. And then you can toggle on or off certain things that you want to show the client or do not want to show the client. So maybe you want to show the quantity. You'll see it updates right here. Maybe you don't want to show the quantity. Maybe you want to get rid of the unit price, etc. When you're happy with everything, you'll go ahead, review the email, check out the bid that you're sending to the client, download it if you need, and you can go ahead and send it right off. Sweet. So that's just a little bit of primer on some of the ways that you can QC the input that you're giving to the estimator. I'm going to go ahead and pause for a second for questions. Go ahead. If you've got anything, throw it in the chat. Awesome. Go ahead, keep on asking any questions you got. My colleague Solek is furiously answering them, so thanks so much, Solek. So I'm going to go ahead and keep on going here. Next thing I want to show you is around how you can use AI to understand the plans more deeply and to make wholesale edits much faster than, say, manually doing so. So this is the same example. Started out with a uploaded plan set, the 53 Moncada one, and I had my same base prompt at the top here. So here's some good examples of asks and edits that you can utilize with the AI assistant. List three things that are unclear from your review of the plans, where you need to make assumptions based on lack of information. And these are the things that we already called out, right? It's saying there's not a lot of information on the pergola. It's unclear if there's a requirement for a sewer ejector pump, and the appliances are to be owner furnished, and there's no SKUs or specific product specs there. So this can be a great way to double check for understanding from the AI. So let's take another example. Another great way that you can utilize asking and editing is asking the AI to break down a calculation for whatever a given scope is and whatever the measurement is. So in this case, I asked it to break down the roof framing area, and you can see it's going to list the exact math. It's taking the footprint, it's adding on a 1 foot eave on every side, and it's yielding that 792 square feet. While Beam is not an on-screen takeoff software, you can also ask the AI temperature check. Can you produce a takeoff for X, Y, or Z? Another way that you can check for understanding. And you can see it's going to list the exact, amount of joist that it assumes, the exact spacing that it's assuming. We could also ask it, can you provide sheet references for where you're pulling this information? So these are really just great examples of different types of asks that you can use. So let's go ahead. Let's do an edit in here. Let's do an edit, something really simple. How about break out labor and materials? Oh, sorry, that was my bad. I just fat fingered for a second. There we go. Sweet. So we'll go ahead and make this edit. As it's working, I'm going to go ahead and just really quickly do a quick primer on edits and asks. So the big thing here is having a really detailed reference on the fields that you want to be changed. So a great example might be you want to increase pricing for the bid, and the AI might say, do you want to increase pricing by increasing the quantity? Do you want to increase pricing by increasing the units, or do you want to increase pricing by increasing the markup? So if you say something vague like increase pricing, the AI is having to make a guess or an assumption of how you want that pricing to be updated. Rather, a better example might be to say, please adjust the unit quantity to allow 10% overage for any finished materials, for example, or please adjust the markup so that the bid equals X. The other big call out here is being really smart with your task words, right? So, do you want it to create a bid? Do you want it to compare, analyze, list, locate? So, as far as when you're asking or editing AI, keep these two things in mind. Be really specific and detailed about how you're referencing what needs to change and how it needs to change. So go ahead, go back to Beam. Let's take a look. So you can see right here. So it's combined everything. I'll say, please break out labor and materials. Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and let that run for a second. And what I want to show you now is after the estimate is complete, what happens. This is going to run in the background, so I can go ahead and X out of it. I'll go back to my projects. And I'm going to go to this detailed notes project again. It's already sent. I'm going to mark it as approved just for these purposes. Say the client gave me verbal approval. Obviously, we'd like to collect an e-signature, but let's go ahead and mark as approved. How we think about the estimate in Beam is that everything flows from the estimate. So by that, I mean, think of your prime contract like your schedule of values. So all it's doing is taking the scope from the estimate and it's populating a prime contract. You got your scheduled value, your work completed, and your balance to finish. This is automatically populated from your estimate, right? Similarly, you come over to schedule and tasks. This is also being created right from your estimate. So we at Beam, that's how we think about the estimate is everything flows from the estimate. Your invoices flow from the estimate based on the line items that you want to invoice for. Your contract is populated from the estimate. Your schedule and tasks are populated from the estimate. That will all happen automatically, and all you have to do is edit as you see fit before you finalize. So let's go ahead and say for this example, we're ready to send our first invoice to the client. We'll go ahead and create a progress invoice. Let's say this is payment number 4. And then all you're going to do is you're going to select line items directly from your prime contract. And once again, these are just directly pulled from your estimate. So let's go ahead and say we've done the pre-con work. I'm going to set to the remaining amount. Let's say we've done all the pre-con work. So I select both of those. You can see the scheduled value, the completed to date, additional details, add in any info you want, any receipts that you have here. You can see if you've got CompanyCam connected, any receipts that you have for this project will be right here that you can select. Last but not least, select how you'd like the client to pay. You want to pay by bank transfer, you want to pay by card, pass along the fee, and then you can go ahead and finalize and send. So that's kind of a really simple example of the flow from Beam, create the estimate, send it off, collect that e-signature, populate your prime contract, and then you can immediately start to invoice for it. So if we come back, there it is. Our schedule has been populated. Just a, simple Gantt chart type of framing. You can add in new tasks here as you like. Um, so that is the Beam workflow when it comes to estimating and then to invoicing. And we can go to our budget right here, create budget, same thing, pulling all the accounting codes that we have set up in Beam from the estimate, the budgeted cost, and the client price. All we have to do is go ahead and click create. If we add in a new change order, the change order will populate in the correct area within the budget. It's going to populate the revised budget. So I'll go ahead and I'll show you what that looks like for something that's a little bit more filled out. So you can see our budget here. We have our costs to date. We have our committed cost. You click into any of these, you can go right to your subcontract. So, down here, add in any subcontracts you have, collect e-signatures as you need. Any expenses that you've got from your subs, you can add them right here. All those feed right into your budget view. Um, okay, time check here. We've just got a couple more minutes. So the last thing I want to show you is that Beam CompanyCam connection. So for those of you that are looking to connect to your accounts, you go to settings. You're going to go to your integrations tab, and then you'll see CompanyCam right here. If it's not linked, you'll have an unlinked status. And then this button right here will say link rather than manage connection. Mine's already linked, so I'll go ahead and click manage connection. How the connection between CompanyCam and Beam works is by address. So if there is a matching address between CompanyCam and Beam, those will automatically be connected. You can see in this case, there's no name for the CompanyCam project, so it just relied on the address. But you can come over here, edit the connection as you need. You can't have multiple projects connected to one Beam project, but rather you can change the connection as you need. You can see any project that you create in CompanyCam will get ported over to Beam and will take the same name and the same address. Any project created in Beam, you would want to go to manually link it in CompanyCam. So I'm going to go ahead and jump to CompanyCam here real quick. Um, and what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what the connection looks like. So here's a project that I made. Once again, I'd love to make this live. The connection takes a couple of minutes, so we just wanted to have this already prepared for you. But you come in here, you'll create a project in CompanyCam. I can come right back here in Beam, and I will see that CompanyCam connection right here as well. As you work in CompanyCam, you upload a new photo. Let's go ahead. There we go. Great. We have a new photo uploaded. We can go ahead and go back to Beam. You'll see a CompanyCam tab right within the project. And then all of your photos are right here. So this is the one that we just uploaded. The thumbnails can look a little blurry. The photo itself will be very clear. And so what gets ported over are photos and documents. So coming over to CompanyCam, that means anything that's a file will be ported over, and anything that's a photo will be ported over. A lot of you may utilize Pages for AI walkthrough notes, for bidding walk notes, and we want to show you how you can get those into Beam easily, right? So in this example, I did already create this. I just made this off the top of my head. So it's about a page worth of notes. And what you do is all you need to do is click export to PDF right here on the right. As that page is downloading, it will move into your Files tab. So now you can see now we have two exports here that we can select from. And if we go back to Beam, let's go ahead and reload. And now you'll see we have both of those initial client walkthrough notes. So in this example, you come right back to the estimate. Let's go ahead and void this. Come right back to the estimate. Go ahead and create estimate. Click upload, add from CompanyCam, and then we can add in those client walk notes and we can draft our bid. Now, obviously, please enter in a little bit of a prompt here, but anyways, just want to show you what it looks like. I've beta tested this a few times. I actually found this one page of walkthrough notes was provided a pretty accurate estimate. And this is because we're thinking about the scope gaps in the items that might have not been included in the plans. Um, so anyways, I know it's just a couple minutes over, but that is really what we've got here for you today. Last thing here is just resources for you. We've got a support team. We've got a whole smattering of how-to articles. We've got this video class will be up on the resources section of CompanyCam's website. We'll also, you can look at any how-to videos on the Beam YouTube channel. If you want to check out Beam's AI Estimator using invoicing and budgeting with Beam, feel free to request a demo. My colleague Solak is going to throw all this in the chat right now. But I just want to say thank you so much for giving me a half an hour of your time this morning. I hope some of the tips and tricks that we provided were helpful and that some of the examples that we showed for good prompts versus bad prompts made clear how you can continue to improve how you use AI. So all I have to do is honestly just say thank you. Really appreciate your time, your energy. Um, we're really excited to be here, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks, y'all.